52 as a part of the Countdown to Chaos Sonic the Hedgehog graphic novel. You may be wondering a few things. Number one, you may be wondering, why on earth is a 20-year-old man reading Sonic the Hedgehog comics? The other thing you may be wondering is, why number 252 out of all of the comics? So, in case you don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog is actually one of the most popular video game and most longest running video game based comic book series. It's not published by Marvel or DC, but rather by Archie Comics, and most of them, or at least the ones that I read, are written by Ian Flynn. Ian Flynn's Sonic the Hedgehog comics are actually insanely good. They not only have rather serious stories in which characters don't always win, but also they have a lot of cool symbolism that you can draw, and you're actually able to do deep analysis of a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog books, including dark themes, connections to mythology and things of that nature, as well as just connections to other forms of fiction. For example, a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog draws inspiration from Dragon Ball Z. But that being said, Sonic the Hedgehog number 252 is definitely a great place for you to jump into the series, and here's why. I originally read the Sonic Saga series, and I was looking for what would be the next book in that title, but instead I picked up Countdown to Chaos. In this book, essentially there was a crossover with Mega Man and Sonic the Hedgehog previously that ended with Eggman trying to reshape reality itself. Well, Sonic uses the Chaos Emeralds in order to try and stop Eggman from reshaping reality, but in the process the world is still changed. So essentially it was a way for them to reboot Sonic the Hedgehog by having a crisis event. Crisis events are things that happen in DC Comics where essentially the whole world will change, but there's a story that you can follow that leads up to the change. In other words, everything from the previous book still happened, but now they're not as important because an event happened that then kind of changed the way that everyone's looking at the world. Sonic the Hedgehog number 252 essentially is Sonic landing in this brand new world that has been created. Because Sonic was in the epicenter of the world shift, he remembers the old world that he's coming from, and he's trying to come to terms with being in this brand new world. Nicole, who is an artificial intelligence that is a part of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, her device also has this weird thing where essentially whenever you touch her, you'll be able to restore your memories from the previous world. But everyone remembers both worlds being a thing after they touch Nicole. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that everyone is on the same page by having everyone touch Nicole, the artificial intelligence program thing, which has a little console that you can hold, but it can also turn into a person, an anthropomorphic animal person. So the story is mainly Sonic lands in this other world, and he runs into Tails, but they're in the middle of a big action sequence that Sonic doesn't remember, because the last thing he remembers is falling into the epicenter of the reality shaping thing, and now he's just in this new world. Tails thinks that Sonic may just have a concussion because the Sonic of his world was hit by a robot right as the Sonic of this world took his place. So as Sonic and Tails are fighting off against this robot, Tails reveals that there are these things called Tails dolls, and they have a little red gem at the top of them. Essentially, Tails dolls can wrap themselves into anything in their environment and turn themselves into robots. And if you try to destroy those robots, they'll simply take more from the environment to rebuild themselves. Sonic and Tails are able to defeat the robot by pulling the Tails doll out of its head and then snapping the gem off of the doll, which then prevents it from being able to use its environment in order to rebuild itself. They're trying to stop this evil wizard named Naugus, who has kidnapped the king, and the king is locked in the dungeon. He also had taken Nicole, the artificial intelligence. So Nicole has an error in her, which I think is partially caused by the cosmic disturbance of the world being reshaped, and Naugus tries to touch Nicole because he wants her to build this super ring for him, but Nicole's not sure if she's able to do it due to the errors. When Naugus touches Nicole, he sees visions of the other world, and it freaks him out, so he runs away from his base. So when he runs out of the castle, Sonic and Tails go in, and they go to save the king. When they save the king, Tails ends up touching Nicole, and then he gets visions of the other world, and he no longer thinks that Sonic is crazy. He understands the same thing that Sonic does, that a new world has been made, but now they're having trouble balancing their memories, because some of their memories are the same in both worlds, and then some are very similar but slightly different. So now that they're on the same page, they're still trying to make sure that they have everything straight. And they feel like the best course of action would be to get all the Freedom Fighters, which is the team that Sonic's a part of that work together in order to fight Eggman, together and get them to all touch Nicole. And then once all of their memories of both worlds are restored, they should be able to piece together what is real and what is not real. Because Sonic and Tails are both struggling with remembering like what reality they're truly in at this point. Dr. Eggman also arrives in this reshaped reality alongside two of his robot companions. So Eggman, his two robots, Sonic, Tails, and the Wizard Nagas are all the characters in this first issue who are aware that there are two worlds and they have memories from both worlds. But when Sonic and Tails decide they want to gather the Freedom Fighters, they realize that the Freedom Fighters are working on like a classified project after talking to the King, which means that their location is not like readily known. The King says that he has one message from them, and the message that he received is highly encrypted. So when they go over the message, they realize that it's actually coordinates to their location. So Sonic and Tails head off, but the King tells him that they need to find his daughter who is like the princess, so like the Eggcorn Kingdom. And that's pretty much it. So that's what happens in this issue. By the way, the King's daughter is Sally, if you're familiar with any of the Sonic the Hedgehog characters. Also, good to see you, Montel. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog number 252 is a part of the Countdown to Chaos graphic novel. I recommend it as a solid jumping in point. And if you're already familiar with the Sonic the Hedgehog series, but you haven't read issue number 252, I highly recommend it. It's good for you to jump into because they essentially have rebooted the universe, so you don't have to know all the old stuff that happened because they're now in a new world. They're in a new reality. And if you have read all the old stuff, well, it still references old stuff because Sonic is still from the previous continuity, and he remembers all the things that happened before. So Montel asked, why did they reboot? So the way that they did the reboot for the Sonic the Hedgehog graphic novel is that they had a crisis event, which is something that happens in DC Comics every once in a while. Essentially, Dr. Eggman tried to reshape reality itself, but then when Sonic tried to stop him by using the Chaos Emeralds, essentially Sonic stopped Eggman from creating Eggman's perfect world, and instead they created this alternate world. Sonic and Eggman are from the original continuity, so they remember all the old stuff that happened. But this new world that Eggman accidentally created is very similar to the old world that they left, but a few things are different due to Eggman trying to interfere with it and Sonic trying to fix everything. So essentially, Eggman wins a little bit by successfully reshaping the world, but Sonic wins a little bit because it's still familiar to what we had before. Ian Flynn, the writer, he is a great Sonic the Hedgehog writer. I loved what he did with the Sonic Saga series, and it looks like his work is continuing to just get better and better. So if you are a Sonic the Hedgehog fan and you've never read a Sonic the Hedgehog comic before, but you don't have to go back and read a whole bunch because it's the longest running video game based comic book series out there, then pick up Sonic the Hedgehog number 252. It's a great starting point because they're starting fresh with a lot of things. And like I said, if you're already familiar with Sonic Saga series or other works by Ian Flynn with Sonic the Hedgehog, and you haven't read number 252, then I highly recommend it. It's a great way for you to jump back in if it's been a while for you between reading, because honestly it was a while since I had read Sonic Saga series, but I was able to jump right in. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked this video, and have a wonderful day. Thank you again, and peace.